You know, some moments in history, they're so huge they just change everything. We're going to dive into one of those today. A war that started because of one single, awful mistake. A mistake that almost got every last human killed.
But to really get this war, you gotta understand what it taught everyone, you know? One of the big players in all this said it best: the future is always born in pain, and man, is that true here. This whole thing is a story about that pain and about trying, really trying, to build something better so you don't make those same mistakes again.
So, where are we getting all this from? Well, imagine an old emperor telling a couple of kids a story. They wanted to hear about big battles, heroes, villains, and he tells them, okay, you want a true story? And he could tell it, you see, because he lived it. He was right there when it all went down, at the dawn of the third age of mankind.
All right, so how did this whole mess even start? The crazy thing is, it wasn't some evil plan. Nope. It was a terrible, fatal mix-up of human pride and Minbari tradition. And it all kicked off during a first contact mission right on the edge of Minbari territory.
You gotta picture humanity at this point. They just won a big war against these nasty guys called the Dilgar, so they were feeling pretty good about themselves, maybe a little too good. They were spreading out, making deals, poking around in the dark. So what's next? Well, they decided to send a little expedition over to the border of the Minbari Federation, this super powerful, kind of mysterious group, just to, see what's up.
And this is the exact moment it all went so wrong. It's wild how one little gesture can mean two totally different things, right? So the Minbari lead ship rolls up to the human fleet, and they open their gun ports. Now to the Minbari, this is like a formal handshake. It's a sign of respect. They're saying we see your strength and we honor it with our own. But to the human captain, who's already on edge, it looks like they're about to get blown out of the sky.
So what happens? Total panic. The human captain's sensors are all scrambled by the Minbari's crazy advanced tech. He's basically flying blind, and he just screams, fire. And in the most awful twist of fate you can imagine, those shots hit the Minbari ship and kill their leader, Dukat, the guy who was literally there to say hello.
So the Minbari, they didn't send a strongly worded letter. No, their response was absolute. They were completely shattered, filled with this incredible grief and rage. To them, this was a savage, cold-blooded murder. So their leaders, the Great Council, they declared a holy war. And the goal? Not to conquer. Oh no. The goal was to wipe every single human being from existence.
And what came next? Honestly, you can't even call it a war. It was a slaughter, a systematic execution. Humanity was suddenly fighting for its very survival against an enemy that was, for all intents and purposes, unbeatable.
Let me be totally clear here. This wasn't a fair fight. It wasn't even close. Human ships were they were like canoes going up against aircraft carriers. The Minbari had stealth tech that made them basically invisible. Their weapons just sliced through human ships like a hot knife through butter. It was absolutely, brutally one-sided.
This quote from Earth Force pretty much says it all. For 2 straight years, humanity didn't win a single major battle. Not one. They threw everything they had, every ship, every pilot, and it just didn't matter. You can imagine what that does to morale. It was just gone. And the Minbari just kept coming, methodical, relentless. They just rolled through the outer colonies, crushing any defense that got in their way. It was like watching the lights go out, one by one, across the whole of human space. A direct, bloody path leading straight to our front door, Earth.
But here's the amazing part. This is what makes the story. Any other species would have just given up, thrown in the towel, but not the humans. They knew they were going to lose. They knew they were all going to die. And they fought anyway. With this incredible, stubborn courage. They never surrendered. They made the Minbari earn every single victory. And in a strange way, that earned them the respect, even the tears of the very people trying to exterminate them.
So 2 years of this brutal meat grinder pass, and it all comes down to this, the final tragic endgame. The Minbari fleet drops out of hyperspace in our solar system. They're here to finish the job.
And then, this broadcast goes out from the President of Earth. It's just heartbreaking. He calls on every ship left, anything that can still fly and shoot, to form one last line. He's not asking for a miracle. He knows victory is impossible. He's asking them to die, to buy just a little more time. Minutes, hours, whatever they can get, so some refugee ships can escape into the dark,
so humanity itself might not go extinct.
And you know what? They did it. They answered the call. Every single ship, from the big battle cruisers down to tiny little patrol boats, they all formed up. A line in the sand, right in front of Earth. One last, beautiful, defiant act. Staring down the fleet that had destroyed them for 2 years, absolutely knowing that this was the end for them.
The battle begins. It's a bloodbath, just as everyone expected. And then, something impossible happens. Right when the Minbari are about to win, right when they're about to deliver the killing blow, they just stop. Everything goes quiet.
And this right here, this became the biggest mystery in the galaxy for a decade. Just think about it. Why? Why would you stop? You're on the verge of total victory. You're about to complete your holy mission. And you just surrender and go home? It makes no sense. But the answer changed everything.
Okay, so here's what happened. In the middle of the battle, the Minbari grab a human pilot, a young guy named Jeffrey Sinclair. They pull him onto their main ship to interrogate him, figure out Earth's defenses before they start bombing the planet. But this interrogation, it did not go as planned.
So they have this sacred relic, right? It's called a triluminary. The belief is that it holds a piece of the soul of their greatest hero ever, a guy named Valen, who saved him like 1,000 years ago. And the legend is clear. This thing only glows if Valen, or someone with his soul, is nearby.
You can probably guess what's coming next. They scan the human pilot with this thing, and it glows. And in that moment, the entire war, their entire holy crusade, just falls apart. The truth was shocking, unbelievable. Minbari souls were being reborn as humans. They were killing their own people. And the #1 rule in their entire culture is Minbari do not kill Minbari. So they had to stop. Not later, right then, immediately.
And just like that, the war was over. But the scars, the lessons learned from all that pain, that was going to change the galaxy forever.
So, what do you do after something like that? Humanity was absolutely haunted by how close they came to being wiped out over a stupid misunderstanding. So, they came up with this crazy, radical idea. Let's build a giant space station, put it in neutral space, and make it a place where everyone, every species, can come and talk out their problems before they start shooting.
And that station was Babylon 5. It was built for one reason and one reason only: to create a place for understanding in a galaxy that was just primed for conflict. It was a direct answer to the horrors of the Earth-Minbari War, a promise, basically, to never let something like that happen again. But, you know, peace is never that easy, is it? It's a fragile thing. And as that old emperor said when he finished his tale, building Babylon 5 wasn't the end of the story. It was a new beginning. And whether or not that last best hope for peace would actually work, well, that's a whole other story.